created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, everyone, very much for joining us for another program. You may have already noticed that last week, well, we took a break. So you didn't see us around last week, but today we're back with two of the most hyper popular areas of the repertory. But before we get there, if you allow me, I would like to share with you a song that is completely out of the program, but we should be celebrating one of the most or one of the finest composers, Mexican composers, in a given time for a given number of years. He was the director of the Conservatorio Nacional de Música, the National Conservatory of Music in Mexico, and he played a major role in the history of music in our country, in the arts. He played his presence was so very important that I think it is fair that we make reference to one of his nicest compositions that is called A la orilla de un palmar. So if you allow me, we will start with that. You will soon realize that it is his style of composition is very fine, is very popular in the sense that, let's recall that he was the father of the Mexican nationalism. He said that the popular music that you could see in the little towns in the country deserved to be taken to the concerts or to the places where more fine music is being played. That's what his purpose was, and that's how he gathered or he picked music from many of the small towns that he visited, and he turned them into these nice little jewels, and we are about to play one of them. A la orilla de un palmar, yo vi de una joven bella, su boquita de coral, sus ojitos, dos estrellas. Al pasar le pregunté que quién estaba con ella, y me respondió llorando: sola vivo en el palmar. A la orilla de un palmar, yo vi de una joven bella, su boquita de coral, sus ojitos, dos estrellas. Al pasar le pregunté So I think you may agree that this is such a lovely song telling the story of a young man falling in love for a woman who happens to be living very lonely. If you want to listen to the complete story, you may refer to the other playlist that we have in this channel, where we have the whole story of this song, have much more comments on that. So again, our deep appreciation to Maestro Manuel M. Ponce, who brought too much to the cultural life of our country here in Mexico. So, with that being said, things, I also wanted to give you notice that we want to thank again people in Belgium for being so loyal to our program. We really appreciate it. And soon we will bring a very, I'm not sure if I would say popular, but a very iconic piece of music from your country. Katia is already working on it. So soon you will hear a song from that. We will also pick more countries. I mean, we will start with Belgium because the level of loyalty from people in Belgium is just amazing. We really thank you very much. We appreciate it. So that's why we're starting with, we will be starting with a piece of music from Belgium and the other countries to come later. Now, coming back to our topic today, we are bringing two of the most iconic roles in the whole world of opera. I really cannot tell. I know that it is one of the top three operas that are played throughout the world, along with La Traviata. We've already had a couple of pieces from La Traviata, so we are going for our first Puccini roles. What can we say about Puccini? Well, Puccini has her heroines, the female heroes. That's the way we are calling them in Spanish, the heroínas puccinianas. I'm not pretty sure about the heroínas because they are not really heroes. They are not Manrico in El Trovatore or something like that. But the way it is said that Puccini was so in love with women that he pictured a whole number of emotions and characteristics of women that he had loved in his life, and that's how he pictured his roles, and that's how we are about to jump into Mimi, and we are going to talk about Rodolfo in La Bohème. I don't know. There are so many things that I think we could say. Maybe we should start by telling that besides being the two most iconic roles being played, I think that something happens when it is performed on stage, and many people will not like my commentary now because they are young, or they are pictured as two young people. Rodolfo is a poet, and Mimi, how do you say what she does in English? She's a costurera. How do you say that?
I don't know. A person who sews?
Who sews a tailor, something like that? Well, excuses
I don't know.
for not having that word right now. But at the end, it is a story. What I was thinking of sharing with you, I think everybody here, or I hope everybody here, has fallen in love. And if you have ever fallen in love, and more than once, hopefully, you may have realized or noticed that the kind of love that you feel for someone is sometimes like very platonic. Sometimes it's very enthusiastic. Sometimes it's more like passion, like in Carmen, or sometimes it's more obsessive as Calaf for Turandot. But as for the case of Mimi and Rodolfo, they are being pictured as two young, poor people, and that's what develops throughout the whole story. Something that is very important is that since they are young and they are poor, their lives are simple. And Puccini really liked to give this painting of simple, pure people to their roles. And that's what he does with Mimi and with Rodolfo. I wanted to mention it because as we are about to start with one of the most famous arias for tenors, which is Che gelida manina, As I was thinking, as I was just telling Katya just before we started recording, the tenors are usually out of tune when they answer si to Mimi. But tenors are also usually out of tune when they say que gelida manina. Sometimes tenor sings it higher. So tenors hardly ever hit the right notes in the first expression. But that's not the thing that I wanted to pay more attention to. I wanted to pay more attention to the fact that I think most tenors fail at identifying what the purpose of this aria is, because they sing Que gelida manina as if they were, if you recall Tosca, O dolce mani, that part, in fact, he sings it to the hands of Tosca, so it's a complete passage to the hands of Tosca. But in this case, he is not singing to the hands of Mimi. It just turns out that, well, they fell in love immediately. You know that when one is young, we usually fall in love very easily. So just picture that. And Mimi, they fall in love, or they at least they like physically, because when he sees her by his door, he says, "Que bella bambina." You see, the moment he notices her, he says, "Oh, that's a beautiful girl." He is young, they are alone, so he says, "Oh, why not trying it, right?" So he turns off the flame or the candle. She has lost her key. He knows where the key is, and they start looking somehow throughout the whole floor. And that's in that moment, in somehow dark, that he happens to touch the hands of Mimi. So it is not like Tosca, as I was telling you, oh, dolce man. That is not the case. It is you are looking, and suddenly you fall into her hands. When he touches the hands, he realizes her hands are cold. And that's the expression he does. It's some sort of surprise, a nice surprise that he happens to hold the hands of the woman he's just falling in love for. But it is a surprise, and it is not a positive surprise. Because remember that when Mimi entered the stage, he also said "Que viso da malata," which means she looks so sick. So the Puccini is letting us know already that Mimi is not in good conditions from the very beginning. So if she looks sick, and when he touches her, he realizes that she is cold. So with that expression, maybe the opening, instead of saying "Que gelida mani," instead of that, because it is not reciting to the hands, it is the surprise of "Que gelida manina, se la lasci riscaldar." You see, now he's offering to warm up her hands. Right after that surprise, what does he has to offer? He's not offering money, he's not offering a castle, he's not offering any of that. He's just offering what another human would do for another person. Please let me warm your hands. Of course, let's remember that he likes her, so there is some interest in there, right? So after saying "Que gelida manina se la lasci riscalar, cercar che giova al buio non si trova." Remember that they are looking for the key, and so he says, "We're not going to find it, so let's stop looking for that." It doesn't really make any sense, right? And there comes a very beautiful phrase where he says, "Ma per fortuna una notte di luna e qui la luna l'abbiamo vicina." So fortunately, it is not very dark, because it is a moon. There is the moon that night. Maybe we call it. How do you say it in English? Cuarto creciente. I have no idea.
Oh, that's no idea.
Well, the moon is growing. You forgive us for not being native speakers. So, ma per fortuna una notte di luna e qui la luna l'abbiamo vicina. So we are, remember that they are on the highest floor. So so he says, e qui la luna la viamo vicina. So the moon is very close to us. She's our neighbor. Aspetti, signorina, le dirò con due parole chi sono e che faccio, come vivo, vuole. This phrase, it's very important. So if you happen to listen to a tenor's version and he just throws it away, means that he really didn't understand the purpose. The purpose of this aria is an introduction aria. Rodolfo is introducing himself. Why is he introducing himself? Because he would like Mimi to know more about him. That's why he does it. And that's why he says, Aspetti, signorina, le dirò con due parole. Chi son, e che faccio, come vivo, vuole. Pay attention to the fact that tenors shouldn't be overdoing it. I know it is a very beautiful piece where the lyric voices can show off and keep the A for longer. Chi sono? But that puts a color into the area that shouldn't be there. Remember that he's just a young poet, that he's being very open about his life to another woman. So it just happens to be flowing. Le dirò con due parole chi son, e che faccio, come vivo. Vuole, when he asks vuole, would you like to learn more about me? Alla scena, I mean, so on stage, Mimi moves her head and says, yes, I would like to learn more about you. And important thing is that these two pieces together are a dialogue. So if the tenor goes like that, showing off, keeping notes for much longer and showing the purity of his tone and all of that, then you lose the purpose. The purpose is that you're introducing yourself to the girl that you liked and that you just met. And it has to be sung in a very simple way. If you overdo it, then it is not a young poet. Maybe it is a duke, maybe it is a prince or someone else. But a simple person shouldn't be pictured like overdoing all his singing, right? So he asks, chi son? Chi son? Sono un poeta. Che cosa faccio? Scrivo e come vivo. Vivo. For me, this expression is very important because what do I do? I'm just a poet. I'm not pretending to be anything else. I'm just a poet. Che cosa faccio? What do I do for a living? I just write. E come vivo? Vivo. I mean, I'm poor. I hardly ever do it. But he loves what he does because, from my perspective, right here is where the climax of the aria starts. He has just showed the surprise for the whole hands. He started telling about the moon. Now he's telling what he does. And right after that is where Puccini gives us the most beautiful melody of Rodolfo, when he starts saying, in povertà mia lieta, sciallo da gran signore, rimedini d'amore, per sogni e per chimere, e per castelli in aria, l'anima milionaria. Because right after having said that in povertà mioletta, sciallo da gran signore, he's very, it really doesn't matter if the place where I live is poor. Because in that place of poverty, those rhymes and those hymns of love are what is giving him their richness. So he feels that he's very, very rich because he says l'anima milionaria. So I may be poor physically, but my soul is so very rich, and I feel I am a millionaire. And yesterday, when I was going somewhere else, when I wanted to ask Katia about that, as I was walking on the street, this phrase kept repeating in my mind, L'anima millonaria. And I recalled that, unfortunately, most artists are usually poor. But you may agree then that when you happen to sing something that you like, you suddenly feel like a millionaire. Like nobody
Yeah.
can take anything away from you. So, of course, you enjoyed the Queen of the Night, but right after you finish the Queen of the Night, how do you feel?
Like the queen of the night.
Like Queen in.
Nobody's gonna take that away from me. Like a queen.
And so I think, from my perspective, that's what Rodolfo means, l'anima millonaria. I'm not rich, but with that poetry that I can write, I feel as I was. Talor del mio forziere, rubando tutti i gioielli, due ladri gli occhi belli. From my perspective, this is also a very nice expression because now he says that due ladri gli occhi belli, two beautiful eyes just stole from me. Whose eyes do you think those are? They are Mimi's. So all those richness was taken away, was stolen by the beautiful eyes he found in Mimi. If you happen to have been in love at some time in the past, and if your lover told you that your eyes have stolen all his richness, you may feel like, oh my God. your lover, your boyfriend, your husband has such passionate words that of course one can understand what the purpose of that expression is. E dei miei sogni usate i bei sogni miei tosto si dileguar, ma il furto non m'ancora. What I was just telling. Why should I care about me being stolen by those beautiful eyes? Because in fact, what you want to have with you are those two beautiful eyes. So just imagine to keep that person that you have just met and that you really like, and at the same time have your poetry with you. Perfect scenario. Maybe money is not there, but the calm and the beauty of having that person with you and your art should be enough, and that should be enough, at least for Rodolfo. Ma il furto non m'ancora, poiché va presso stanza la dolce speranza. I wanted to make a mention here about if you read music, you may notice that there is oppure, which means you do the line that is originally written, or if you are too powerful and want to show off to the one that is above. That's what it means. From my perspective, and I think you will not like it. People like this aria because they are expecting this note here. They are expecting the high C, the hyper famous do de pecho or do di petto for the tenors. Not all tenors have it. Not all tenors do it well. But even if you have it, and it is powerful enough, I know that many tenors sing it just because they want to show their high C, and that is usually a mistake, because you should be giving the flow. You go crescendo, you go minuendo, you do so many things with your voice, as in the previous phase. Let me go back to that. After you say milonaria, dolor del mio forziere, ruban tutti i gioielli, due ladri gli occhi belli, v'entrar con voi pur ora, ed i miei sogni usati, e i miei sogni miei tosto si dileguar. if you notice, you have to be putting more voice, then putting it away, increasing your volume, then going down so that the aria does not feel monotonous. Because most of the times it is sung, since the tenor just want to show off that he can keep the notes for longer, it's like changing words and throughout monotonous, monotonous, monotonous. If you want to listen to from my perspective, maybe the best rendition of this aria, it would be Giuseppe Di Stefanos. I happened to have heard yesterday a recording that he made live along with, I forgot the name of the soprano, Badu Gisao. I just happen to have forgotten her name. But they sing, he sings Rodolfo's, then she sings Mimi's, and then they go for O Suave Fanchula. And given what Di Stefano does always with his voice, the rendition is just out of this world. It's immense. He does what every tenor should be doing, which is understanding the music. And let's go back to the high C, because I was telling you that since the tenor is just caring for the high C, they just happen to forget the rest of the aria. They sing it like just waiting to show off for mi donna dolce spar, and they may keep it for so long, or if they hardly ever reach the note, maybe too short that nobody notices that they even touched that. But I think that if you're rehearsing it, I know everybody will be waiting for your high C, but why singing a high C that is going to be either horrible or not well placed, when you could do something very nice with what is also written? La dolce speranza. If you sing it and you rapid it well, it may seem so more natural than when people are looking at you. You're about to sing, to go for the high C, and they realize that you are like, but you feel like you're about to break down on the stage because you don't feel safe with the note. If you don't feel safe with the note, just don't go for it. There is a whole line very well written, and that is sung very well. You could be much more comfortable and enjoy the whole piece. Of course, some of the people in the audience may feel like, oh, the tenor just doesn't have the high C, so. But people in opera are like that. But if you don't feel comfortable, I would suggest don't do it. But there is something else that I wanted to mention. The tenor thinks that after the high C, the aria is over, and it is not. So the tenor says, I reached the high C, people are going to give me a very big applause, so I just don't care for what is coming next. But remember, this is a dialogue. And you have to give the entrance to Mimi. So you tell, and it says dolcissimo. Pay attention to that, dolcissimo. Or che mi conoscete, parlate voi, se parlate chi siete, mi piaccia dir. But you don't remember that you are telling her, vi piaccia dir. You just have to keep it for as long as it makes sense for her to answer. See, we are about to start with Mimi, of course. But you don't keep it. Ti piaccia dir. It doesn't make sense to keep it for that long. We know you have a good breathing technique, so don't keep it for any longer. So just wrap it nicely so that now Mimi jumps on stage, and now it is her turn for her to introduce herself. And I wanted to ask you, are you going to sing it first complete before we jump into the details, or